Check. One, one, one. Two, two. Mike. Hareshama-san-san. Opel-Gruppen. Mrs. Sir. So, he's a she. Yeah, no, I've been calling him Opel-Gruppen Wilson the longest while, so that's me without the floodlight on currently. I was getting into race earlier. 12.5% Cherokee, 12.5% Lenape, 25% Scottish Caucasian, 38% Scandinavian Nordic. What else am I missing? That 12.5% Indigenous Swiss Aryan, not non-Germanic Indigenous Swiss, also known as Aryan, or the Aryan Indigenous Swiss. I suppose there's the Aryan found in plenty of countries all over Europe. It's a European specialty tang. They got the fair skin, the changing hair color, which generally rests at brown or blonde, and then the changing eye color, which generally rests at blue, and that their skin would go from a white to a pink, like an all body blush. As far as Nords, that would be. I came into some sad news, guys. I can't find anything on Google, Yahoo, YouTube's, Facebooks, or any other kind of internet's mainstream to show that the Nordic race isn't a myth created by Hitler. Yeah, okay, so fire engine red skin, blonde hair, blue eyes. The fire engine red skin is what I couldn't find anyone with any words red skin, unless it's a picture of the Chiefs football team mascot or the guy on the chewing tobacco pouch. And I just couldn't find anything anywhere. Meanwhile, Cherokee is a black and red that starts with a brown and then by the moon, and same with the Lenni-Lenapes. The Lenni-Lenape is more of a chameleon, while Cherokee is more of Lake Wilson heat and things. And the Nords, fire engine red, yes. So you put together the 25% Scottish Caucasian with the 12.5% non-Germanic Indigenous Swiss Aryan. That's it for everything, all things white. So I have a feeling they've been trying to hide certain things by having me on script. And now you'll notice, that's me in the shadow with the floodlight on. It's just a little bit of a difference. And it was 2 or 3 days ago I set down the cam and was just shooting the breeze and the smoke, telling my life story. Didn't notice a gosh darn thing. But you can see in the video, it's not CGI, it's a heavy red, it's a heavy, deep, heavy red. And then later the floodlight turns on and the red turns kind of like to a gray, like he's attempting to white face, and it's just not working out properly. But anyway, you can see the eyes, or at least one of the eyes, were at the sort of the corners of his head, staring at his temple. And when they move forward, you can see a sky blue, maybe with a bright yellow, as if he was the sun in the sky, in the eyes there. When they straightened up and looked and said, oh, never mind. But for the majority, he was squinty, and all you could see was pupils out the side of his. So there was a whole submarinous night vision thing that was going on there. So that mixed with the changing iris, with the Aryans mixed with the deep blue of the Nords is interesting. So I've got several different iris colors. I've got many different hair colors. The hair doesn't turn blue, green, or purple, but it's got most natural hair colors in there. Black, brown, red, blonde, dirty blonde. That's about it. So waist size 28. I'm 6 foot tall. I weigh 150 pounds. I did the overhead pull down as far as weightlifting at 1,260 at the most. My free weight is 160. That's where I feel most comfortable. You could get a decent cardio workout in by it's a weights on either side, two-handed, but it's a curl bar. It has the funny angles in it, and that's at 160. So I like butter, with some steak and eggs. And so my bench was 350. My leg press was 780, and I'd run in about 14 miles an hour sprint. So there was that, and I doubt I've gotten much weaker, from I have the free weight inside, but everything else has to go to like a tutor, a specialty gym in a safe place where I can really be myself and have some funding for in case anything, would go wrong and etc. So I remember being in like private installations before where they get my physical down and record. The last one that that I might have paperwork documentation for was about 2011. They wanted to 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 just see, if I was anything like I was in 2007 or before the injury in 2008. It's not that I've strictly been in med tent off my feet, doctor's orders, but I've been stuck in tiny town with no money since July 2008. See, the pills originally it's $45 per pill, and it's one a day until you're ready for two a day with a 30 milligram administered once a week by injection. And I don't know how much the 30 milligram costs, but if an 8 milligram or a 12 milligram is $45 a dose, and the 45 times 30 times 12 times 11 is the total spending that really, isn't entirely 100% covered by insurance. Of course, when I, the patient, go to the pharmacy and pick up the script that says it's free of charge, and when I talk to my counselor, they says, well, it's covered by your insurance. And when I talk to my prescriber, she says, oh, well, it's for schizophrenia, and it doesn't really take the dream state down too much. You're still smoking that tobacco, right? Oh, good, good. And you're seeing things and hearing things and having a funny time in La La Land. Where obviously, although it is also issued for schizophrenia, autism, bipolar, manic depression, and other hereditary genetic mental illnesses, it's not issued in that fashion for anything sort of thing. See, you'll note something like there was a police officer that was shot in the head. So, on real life, I don't want to anything like that. But I was in his shoes, July 2008, in my NYPD Blues. They go through a big band-aid and then neurosurgery and maybe up to 6 weeks in recovery, and then you get put out the door, clean as a whistle. Clean if you can pass the mental and you can pass the physical enough to hold down part-time minimum wage labor, and take care of yourself. If you put the left shoe on the right foot, you don't pass the mental exam, and you have to stay. If we find out that was a funny ha-has, you're being stuck in a crazy jacket and behavioral therapy until you learn how to understand this is not a joke, Sid. The questions are very awkward. Almost as like you are a fifth grader. It's not like they're smarter than one. So there was that, and then they heavily recommend pick a script, so your brain doesn't dream about the trauma once and just kill itself. It auto off, yeah, random auto off from a heavy injury. You get a script, like if you had a head injury that wasn't as severe, they'll probably give you a pain med for temporary, even in youth. But it doesn't hurt. But he's not in pain, but it's fixed all the way. But what if we just let him take the pain? Well, it was so traumatic and this and that. And maybe he'll remember feeling the pain at the same intensity again. And just because it's synthesized in a memory doesn't mean that he won't react to it with convulsions or sudden death. Is all fantasy fiction role playing for the creative portion of the show? Is obviously I'm a gosh darn useless kid crap that doesn't belong here, never did, ain't doing anything, and never has, and never will. So, or something similar to distract my mind from the real life of my person. And we were going on I'll see if I can take back to the tobaccos. We'll get the motion sensor light back on him. Well, the script causes sudden death too in some people. It's a random side effect, sudden death. But the chances of seeing sudden death from a script, even if it's a 10, 15 years, is less than just ordinary random chance of sudden death from seeing a head trauma, such as being shot through the skull, I suppose. Let's see, if we could push the meds and the script aside, I was going into my life story. I mentioned 1994, I was in private school for summer reading. and that was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then in September 2001, I was pushed underwater with a bunch of Navy people to the fallout shelter for the Navy fallout shelter under the Long Island Sound. The closest fallout shelter besides that would be under the football field of Waterford High, which was closed, yes, but if they did bomb and that was full. As far as I could have gone there, but I would have been separated from my family. Gramps was still alive and he was an active Navy admiral. Pops had the military ID, and enough so he could bring his family under that ID, and his dad was there with not a Navy brat, but a Navy. So we went to the submersible and dipped under for about a year, and then 2003 I wound up, instead of my life focused towards the Bill Clinton's idea of being a taxi driver, a crew member for a submarine, like a submarine pilot, to go to the Long Island Sound Underwater Research Laboratories, peddling back and forth scientists, scholars, and civilians in pursuit of a North Atlantic space station, which was a real thing back then under that administration. There was everything was focused towards the Navy, or else all of my prior learning would have been thrown out the window for, like, let's do something in Montana instead, so to speak. So I mentioned years 3 through 8 already, and then I was getting into entertainment, the entertainment portion. 2006, there was my grandpa's best friend since 1950, who was born in Sicily during the 1910s. Between 1910 and 1919, he was born in Sicily, went to Ellis Isle, lived in New York City for a long time, ran into Gramps when Gramps was home from China, the surrender of Japan. My Gramps left New London on a submarine, went to China, saw the atomic bombs on Japan, got the Congressional Medal of Honor when he came back to New London on the same submarine. And so there was that, and so when he was back from the boat, he ran into a friend that he kept until 2003 when he passed away. In 2006, that friend moved into our backyard. But in September 2001, he was in Manhattan. He worked at the public library, and he saw it with his own eyes and lived through the madness that followed. So he had a little bit of the PTSD, and that's when I started with the quick talk and all things I knew as a New Yorker, or what would be similar to a newspaper stand with no newspapers. A radio show, live from just a 15-minute trek from Fort Trumbull nuclear submarine parking spot. The radio show, it was a bit of a verbal contra from some slightly shamanic speech that would wind up giving trance not only to the person that spoke it, but to the listeners around, and then he'd fall into a dream state. So he would almost heal the tribe whenever he was sleeping, groggy, semi-sleep, trance state, or on his way, getting groggy from going to or waking up, or in that kind of verbal madness that wound up attracting not only kids but also elderly. Which was interesting because at the same time, just less than 10,000 feet away, there was someone working for the Department of Defense, pretty much employed by the Pentagon. He had an office in D.C. who was working from home, defensively reprogramming or programming intercontinental ICBMs and torpedoes so they didn't blow up in the harbor from cyber warfare of the Middle Eastern coalition, as there is an incumbent president, maybe 3,000 incumbent employees imported from the Middle East, which was the president's idea after an audit some May when he visited that area, said. And then the flock from the continental U.S. that just came to help because they found out word traveled fast, and then word traveled great distance, that there was a heavy Islamic presence in the Tri-Town area, and they wanted to help convert or help change the name of the land from USA to New Mecca, because it's written in the Quran and Muhammad told them to. Anyway, it's not like that didn't happen some 200 years ago when the pilgrimage, and many presidents went along with that. That says, well, Jesus told us to, it's written in the Bible, and all these savage are actually part demon, belong in hell or out west on reservations. Many presidents went along with that, and many settlers, that was their first introduction to whatever kind of indigenous on the land already. So it came to no surprise if anyone had taken side of Native America instead of biblical scripture, or somewhat neutral, say, that it happened again. So I've been draftable since I was 18 as well. Just because I got an injury, they said, well, whenever he gets a clean physical and mental bill, clean bill of health, physically and mentally, regardless of these little neurosynapse anythings, can he still pass the ABC test well enough to be in the Army? He was invited to Iraq and Afghanistan through BSA. Some leaders of national something signed him up because of his riflery accomplishments. 3 basic patches all the way down to expert marksman. Starting with light rifle, he remembers that. He's a copy for that, but then his eyes kind of roll over milky white to the sides of his head, and his teeth turn to jaws, and he turns his skin color and hair color and whatever else, and loses all perception of persona and person, and is one with the gun. He's straight shot nonetheless. So instead of being in shooting competitions and enrolling in anything like that, they decided to put him into the Army Rangers to see if he'd make it, and he did. He was invited to Iraq and Afghanistan. I'm still kicking myself and referring to me in third person from time and time again. This is kind of, I don't want to gloat, it says, but tell the story, the life story of this character that may die tomorrow. And first 15 minutes of ingestion of the Berlin 3 milligrams. So. It's not that I hadn't been there. It's just that while I was there, I was a junior. I was either prepping at the age of 12 for the surface and what it might be like, or I was 13 through 18, and then 18 and a half, an injury, And then since then, I've been more of an entertainer and a clown of sorts. A big distraction in the backyard so that regular, ordinary residents can carry on regular, ordinary things with a little bit of heart, instead of the overwhelming gloom of Uncle Sam and its missile factory, its bomb factory, its guns and its soldiers, in the river and on either side. Every other door you knock on at the houses around us is soldier. What is this? Fearful. And what is this? Soldier. And what is this? Famine. And you there? Lame. And what is that one? Soldier. And I say, okay, I get it. And you go on the streets, or you go to the low income, and you find and what are you? And it's someone with mental illness, or it's a hobo that's chosen to be a hobo, or it's someone that's in love with Islam. Even in the days today, and not a pro-USA either. So, and what a tough point to get across to the audience is that I've run across 1,000 men that were not only Islam, but not pro-USA. They were pro-MBC. They were pro Al Qaeda. They're pro Osama bin Laden. They hail Saddam Hussein, etc. And that's in the Tri-Town area around the nuclear ICBMs and the submarines and the everything. Well, what I'm told is, call them Puerto Rican, pretend like it didn't exist, and understand Route 1, which is right over there, goes from Maine to Florida, and everyone and their mother could be passing by If they choose to stop and get out, that's their right. Unless they've immediately committed a crime, there's no need to phone them in. Half of them have diplomatic immunity. The other half are too stupid to cause any harm. So I don't know. I don't know. Getting off that subject. That subject been going on and 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 on. It would as far as altitudes and uh, in the immediate surroundings of my meat bag, meat popsicle, regular organ, the flesh and bone. I don't know these people, so at 10 o'clock there's a Watertown noise ordinance, which means I can't talk inside. If I am, it has to be at a dull roar, also known as a whisper. I'm from Truck Depot Road, so when the trucks are from here. The trucks. Woohoo, woohoo. Trucks. Yes, the trucks. There's hundreds of them. There's about hundreds of trucks, and they're very loud. They drive through my mind while I'm sleeping at the wooden house, and the trucks are in the front lawn pretty much all day. You've never heard of Truck Depot Road? Well, there's almost no space from the front door to the avenue where the trucks go back and forth. And so I talk loud naturally, whether so 10 p.m. I've got a button in my trap, or it's skit and skedaddle elsewhere, so for skits, and maybe some candy. Well, I'm going to go ahead and review this for now to see if it makes any sense. And I've got all turned around as to what I was preparing the speech for. The topics of speech I had prepared were kind of thrown out the window, like yesterday's trash when I heard the news in Philly. And then again, beforehand, before I found the news in Philly, with a 2-hour, 45-minute upload for a half hour's worth of talk shows. Let's say. Check. 3, 2, 1, out.